Ever since man first looked into the night sky, he knew that he was a part of something much, much bigger than himself. The vastness of the heavens was incomprehensible. The breadth of it all spoke of things eternal. And in looking at the heavens, man believed that perhaps he was really looking into the face of God. From Psalm 19, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech, and night after night they display knowledge." So where are we in this place called the universe? Our moon is our nearest neighbor, 250,000 miles away. Our sun is 93 million miles away from the Earth. The solar system is flying through space at 134 miles per second, spinning as it goes. It is a part of a vast collection of stars and star systems. Scientists estimate as many as 200 billion stars are a part of this collection called the Milky Way galaxy. Saturn, of the 9 planets in our solar system, is over 1 billion miles away. It is 1,000 times the size of our Earth. Of the 200 billion stars in our Milky Way galaxy, 6 billion of these stars have planetary systems like ours. Every star we can see in the night sky lies within the realm of our own galaxy. Voyager 1 is now the most distant human-made object in space. It was launched in 1977, traveling at a speed of 40,000 miles per hour. It is just now arriving at the edge of our solar system. The sun there is only 1/5000th as bright as here on Earth, so it is extremely cold, and there is very little solar energy to provide electrical power. The fact that the spacecraft is still returning data is a remarkable surprise to our scientific community. Our solar system, containing the sun and the 9 orbiting planets, orbits the center of the Milky Way galaxy on just one of its outer spiraling arms. Our Milky Way galaxy, the home to our solar system, is just one of over 125 billion galaxies that make up the visible universe. Andromeda is the next closest galaxy. It is 10 million miles away from the Earth. Traveling at the speed of light, it would take 2 million years to reach Andromeda. Andromeda and the Milky Way form a small cluster of galaxies called the Local Group. Beyond the Local Group are even greater clusters of galaxies. Man has no knowledge whatever of what lies beyond this distance. From Hebrews chapter 11, "By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible." From Colossians chapter 1, "And Jesus is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For by him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things were created by Jesus and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together." How big is God? The Bible declares that the endless eternal universe is just one of God's creations. As incomprehensible as that is for our minds to conceive, what may be even more unimaginable is that in the vastness of all that he has made, he loves you, and through Jesus Christ his Son, the God of the universe, extends his hand and his love to you.
Greetings from the Northern Hemisphere, where in a couple of weeks, summer will officially begin, while our friends in Sydney, Johannesburg, and Buenos Aires are getting ready for winter. But no matter where you are or when you're watching this, you're never more than 3 months away from a change of seasons. And who can we thank for this? The sun, partly, and the way the Earth leans into it. So the Earth spins on its axis at a fixed angle of about 23½ degrees. And as the Earth goes around the sun once every 365.25 days, this axial tilt, or obliquity, changes the exposure of the sun's radiation that different parts of the Earth experience at any given time. So starting in a couple weeks, the northern hemisphere will tilt toward the sun, and people will break out the iced tea and sunscreen, while the southern hemisphere will point away and begin bundling up for the relative darkness of winter. But here's the thing, lots of people think that the hemisphere that's tilted toward the sun experiences summer because it's closer, and therefore hotter, which is just false. In fact, those of you in the northern hemisphere might be surprised to know that the Earth is actually 5 million kilometers closer to the sun in January than it is in July. So the difference doesn't have to do with your hemisphere's proximity to the sun, it has to do with the angle of the sun's rays that it receives. Let's say this piece of paper is the Earth's surface, and this flashlight is the light of the sun. When the light shines directly onto the paper at a right angle, you see a perfect illuminated circle. But when I tilt the flashlight, that circle stretches into an ellipse. So the same total amount of light is hitting the paper, but it's now more spread out, so the light energy per square centimeter is reduced. This effect, combined with the fact that higher sun angles result in longer days, means that more energy is heating your hemisphere in the summer and less in the winter. But if you're near the equator, you probably barely notice any seasons at all, since you get roughly the same amount of sun year-round. The poles, on the other hand, feel the difference in a pretty big way. That 23½ degree tilt ensures that they never point directly at the sun, but they still spend about half the year bathed in daylight, and the other half in near total darkness. So the next time you're picking daffodils, getting a tan, carving pumpkins, or building snowmen, take a second to think about how you're leaning toward or away from the sun, and enjoy the uniqueness of the season, if you get them. Thanks for asking, and thanks especially to our Subbable subscribers who keep these answers coming. If you have a quick question, let us know on Facebook or Twitter or in the comments below, and if you want to keep getting smarter with us, just go to youtube.com/scishow and subscribe.
Every day, we see patterns in the world around us. They testify to the careful design and hard work that produced them. But what about the patterns that are not made by man, but appear in the natural world? What do they reveal? Consider the snowflake. These tiny crystals are formed when water vapor in a cloud condenses directly into ice. As the crystals grow, delicate and beautiful patterns emerge. Look more closely at the pattern within a single snowflake. The crystalline arms branch, then branch again and again at increasingly smaller sizes. Mathematicians studying this concept of self-similarity use the term fractal to describe a shape that has a consistent, repeated pattern at multiple scales. Where else can fractal patterns be seen in the natural world? Trees can demonstrate a degree of self-similarity. The trunk splits into limbs, which split into branches, then twigs, and so on. We see a similar type of fractal pattern in the leaves of a fern. A different type of pattern, but one that is also a fractal, can be seen in the shell of the chambered nautilus. As it grows, the nautilus builds new, larger chambers and seals off the older, smaller ones that it no longer needs. The result is a spiral that is fractal in nature, maintaining a similar shape as it increases in size. Natural spiral patterns of this type can be observed in many places, from the cloud formations of a hurricane to tiny shells on the beach, from the arrangement of the stars in a galaxy to the seeds on a sunflower head. What causes these spiral patterns? In the case of the sunflower, it has to do with the specific angle at which new plant growths form. This angle, approximately 137.5 degrees, is sometimes called the golden angle. It results in an ideally compact arrangement with no wasted space and creates distinct spiral patterns. If the sunflower grew not at the golden angle, but at a different angle, for example 140 degrees, we would see radial arms instead, and the seed arrangement would not be as efficient. As we look even closer, we can discern a fascinating mathematical relationship between this golden angle and a series of numbers called the Fibonacci sequence. In this progression, each number is determined by adding the previous two numbers together. Interestingly, these Fibonacci numbers can often be observed in plants. This sunflower has 34 spirals in one direction and 55 going the other way. Both of these numbers are in the Fibonacci sequence. A pineapple will often have 8 or 13 spirals. Flowers with a spiral growth pattern tend to have a Fibonacci number of petals. Why are these numbers significant? As the Fibonacci sequence progresses, the relationship between successive numbers comes closer and closer to defining the exact value of the golden angle. This intriguing mathematical relationship between the golden angle of plant growth and the number of resulting spirals reminds us that the patterns we see in the natural world are not merely accidental. Each one is a reflection of order and careful design. As we take time to examine these patterns more closely, we're filled with a sense of wonder at the workmanship of their designer, Jehovah God. For His invisible qualities are clearly seen from the world's creation onward, because they are perceived by the things made.
The journey of life starts with a fascinating race. Starting with millions of sperm, only one, the fastest and the strongest, will reach the finish line. Some fall out of the race, getting lost in the rush through the narrow fallopian tubes, while some are stopped by natural obstacles which protect the woman's body from intruders. Those who make it closer to the end compete fiercely with each other. Together, they attack the egg cell. Their only goal is to be the first one to enter the egg. Only one will make it through, but the others simplify this mission by slowly dissolving the membrane of the egg. Finally, we have a winner. The winning sperm enters the egg and conception occurs. Half the man's and half the woman's chromosomes combine. This creates a unique DNA code which is needed to create new life. These combined chromosomes form the first cell of the new baby. This is now called the zygote. The zygote starts to divide into a cluster of cells and begins to travel to the friendly and safe habitat of the uterus. When the zygote is divided into a bubble of cells, a blastocyst is formed with an inner layer of cells making up the embryo and an outer layer which will protect and nourish the embryo. The blastocyst then finds a comfortable place to stay in the uterus for the next 40 weeks to develop and transform into a human being.
Anyone who studies the workings of the human body has surely seen God moving in His majesty and power. Each eye has an autofocusing lens. Nerves and muscles control two eyes to make a single three-dimensional image. Each ear is connected to compact equipment designed to convert sound waves into audible tones. Your heart is an incredible pump. It has 4 delicate valves that open and close more than 100,000 times a day. Think of the body's defense system. It perceives pain. It generates antibodies. The body renews its own outdated cells and regulates the levels of its own vital ingredients. The many amazing attributes of your body attest to your own divine nature. The Apostle Paul described it as a temple of God. How could this be? Because your body is the temple for your spirit. And how you use your body affects your spirit. God is the Father of our spirits. We are part of His divine purpose. And when He created us physically, we were created in the image of God. Development of the Spirit is of eternal consequence. When we truly know our divine nature, then we will control our appetites. We will focus our eyes on sights, our ears on sounds, and our minds on thoughts that are a credit to our physical creation as a temple of our Father in heaven. For these physical gifts, thanks be to God.
The reflected light of the world enters through the crystal transparency of the cornea, aqueous humor, lens, and vitreous humor to project onto the photoreceptors of the retina, whose impulses converge on the optic nerve and then to the brain.
Felix.
Hi, Isabel. Hi, Hannah.
Felix. Guess what I did today?
What did you do?
Well, my mommy took my training wheels off my bike, and so I was riding down this hill really fast.
Yeah.
And then I fell.
Oh, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, but look, I got this awesome scab.
What is that? What did you do?
I fell.
Oh.
And it's healing here, and it's like starting to come off, and you know, it itches, but you know, I shouldn't pick it. Do you pick your scabs?
Oh, no, I've never had one before.
Here's why you shouldn't pick your scabs, okay?
Okay.
When your skin breaks, of course, you start bleeding, right?
Yeah.
So here we have a little bit of blood.
Uh-huh.
The first thing that'll come in are these cells called platelets.
Uh-huh.
And then they'll help stop the bleeding.
Oh, yeah.
And after the platelets help you stop the bleeding and clot up, but that's a really weak plug there. So what your body sends in then is this protein called fibrin.
Oh, fibrin.
And it's a really strong network.
Oh, look at that. They work together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To help stop the bleeding.
Okay.
Okay? And then your body forms the scab right on top of it. And then Hannah's going to put that on.
Okay.
But that's not all. More healing is happening behind there.
Oh.
So here's what happens.
Yeah. That's a good scab.
It is. Look at that.
Yeah, it sticks.
These cells called white blood cells start
Right.
coming in and eat any bad bacteria.
Oh, they eat bacteria? I thought that was bad
Right.
to eat bacteria.
Well, it's the white blood cells' job to do it. They like
okay.
that stuff.
They like that. Neato. Okay.
And they do that so you don't get any infection in there. Okay? So they come in there like a big army.
Yeah.
And then your blood vessels start to heal.
Oh.
Okay? So you put that all on there. So then,
Oh.
like that.
They look like Twizzlers.
Well, use your imagination, Felix.
Oh, yeah.
Your scab starts to heal. It starts from the top and it goes down to the center, okay?
Wow, yeah.
Well, you're not supposed to pick it. You know why?
Why?
So you take all this stuff from underneath it.
Uh-huh.
You destroy all of this.
Oh, man. Oh, then all the protection that the army made is gone.
Exactly. You just ruin all of that. And then
Yeah.
your body has to start all over again.
Oh, no.
And then you can get a scar.
Oh, no. Well, what about yours? You didn't pick yours, right?
Nope, it's still healing.
Oh. And Isabel, how long will it take for your scab to heal?
Well, it depends how big it is, okay?
Okay,
So
okay.
maybe about like a week or two.
Oh, that's not bad.
And so then it'll just naturally fall off, and then that's your body's way of saying, it's done.
Wow, and your body heals itself.
Exactly.
That's like magic.
It is. It's a lot of stuff going on in there. Wow. So what are you going to say to your friends the next time that they try to pick their scab?
Don't eat your scabs. That is gross.
That's right.
And not to pick them.
That's right.
Thank you, Isabel. Thank you, Hannah.
Felix.
In the Friday Zone.
In every wound type, the healing process runs through a cascade of phases, which partly overlap in time. The immediate reaction to injury is a contraction of the capillaries to reduce bleeding. Red blood cells and platelets released from damaged blood vessels flow into the wound, aggregate, and produce a plug or clot in the wound. The first step in the inflammatory process is dilatation of the capillaries. Increased permeability of the capillary allows serum and white blood cells to migrate into the wound area. Here, the white blood cells differentiate into different cells, including neutrophils and macrophages. Neutrophils and macrophages are attracted to the damaged cells and bacteria by chemical substances. They become phagocytic and engulf dead tissue and bacteria. Once all the dead tissue is eliminated, the inflammation gradually subsides. During the proliferation phase, the wound is filled with granulation tissue. Granulation tissue consists of newly formed capillaries and connective tissue. The formation of new capillaries, angiogenesis, ensures that nutrients are supplied for granulation tissue formation and is essential for wound healing. Fibroblasts are the predominant cells in the proliferations phase. They migrate into the wound site from the surrounding tissue and start to multiply. In the last part of the proliferations phase, the wound is made smaller by wound contraction. Wound contraction is brought about by specialized fibroblasts with contractile properties called myofibroblasts. When the granulation tissue filling the wound is almost at level with the surrounding skin, re-epithelialization starts. The epithelial cells change shape to facilitate locomotion and crawl across the wound bed to cover it. Migration stops as soon as cells regain contact. The cells change back to their normal appearance and reattach themselves to the basement membrane. The wound is closed. The transition from granulation tissue to scar tissue involves reorganization and maturation of collagen fibers to maximize tensile strength. During remodeling, the fibers are orientated along the lines of tension and cross-linked to form a strong wound. Remodeling can take up to 2 years after wounding.